Georgia Milestones? It is an assessment system. You will hear a lot in elementary school. It's called the EOG. In elementary, well, actually 3rd through 8th, it's the end of grade assessment, and then it spans through high school. It will be called the end of course assessment. So it measures how well students have learned the knowledge and skills that have been explicitly taught in the state-adopted curriculum in the classroom. And students grade 3 through 8 will take them. So Ms. Dunnigan's going to link to a video on the Georgia Department of Education website about the assessment.
Georgia students, parents, and educators have big goals, and now they have a tool to help them navigate their way. The Georgia Milestones Assessment System. Georgia Milestones provides a clear signal of students' academic performance, including how well they're prepared for what's next, whether that's the next grade, next course, or starting college or a career. Think of Georgia Milestones as a map. It provides information on students' academic journeys, including how well they've mastered the content and skills at each grade or milestone. Georgia Milestones is developed and owned by Georgia and created in partnership with Georgia educators, colleges, universities, and businesses. Old methods of standardized testing are on the way out. Georgia Milestones provides an engaging, innovative testing experience. Students will take tests online, leveraging the power of computers and tablets. Students will still see multiple choice questions, but they will also encounter other questions where they'll be required to demonstrate what they know and can do. Constructed response questions will require students to create an answer rather than select one. Extended response questions will have multiple parts, requiring students to demonstrate a deeper level of understanding and reasoning. Students will interact with technology-enhanced questions. This could involve shading an object, editing text, or classifying items. These questions are more engaging and give students a better opportunity to demonstrate what they've learned. Georgia Milestones includes end-of-grade assessments in grades 3 through 8 and end-of-course assessments in high school. Content areas include English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. Results will provide critical information on overall student performance and specific data on skills like reading and writing. Students will receive Lexile scores, which help match students' reading skill with appropriate reading materials. Georgia Milestones will also provide norm reference scores, which tell students how they achieved relative to students across the country. Parents will see how well their student has mastered state academic standards and how prepared he or she is for the next educational level. Teachers will have actionable information for remediation and enrichment efforts. And schools can use this information to identify program strengths and weaknesses. It's amazing how far good information can take us. Georgia Milestones is an innovative assessment program that will help us reach our ultimate goal, successful Georgia graduates.
Okay, I'm going to stop it. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know why we had some difficulties with that, but we're going to explain all of that to you anyway. Okay.
the unique features that you were supposed to hear about on the video but didn't hear about are some open-ended questions, which are constructed response in the English and mathematics only. Science and social studies will be the multiple choice or the selected response that our students are used to. There will be a writing component in this assessment, which is new for us. They'll be responding to text in the ELA, and they'll be explaining their answers in math. And there's going to be the norm referenced items and the criterion referenced items all in the same test. Whereas the CRCT used to be just on the standards that we taught, and the ITBS was more norm referenced. They're combining some of the questions in this test. So we're going to be getting 2 different scores. And then eventually we'll be transitioning to 100% of our students taking it online.
So year 1, the state requires that at least 30% of your testing population takes the test online. By year 3, 80% online, and by year 5, so it's a 5-year rollout, that 100% of students will test online. So that's why if you're a 4th grade parent, we're testing only 4th graders online this year. We had to look at our technology capacity. We've got 1 computer lab, a laptop cart. So we chose 4th graders this year, kind of in the middle of everything. They've had experience with a standardized test before. They're not in 5th grade where they're getting ready to head to middle school, so we felt like it was a good age. They've had a lot of experience. Our teachers are very technology driven in 4th grade, so they've had a lot of experience with that. 4th graders, and then some small group testers will test online. One change with this test is that if a student, a special education student, if they receive a read aloud accommodation as part of their IEP plan, their individual education plan, their only option is to take it online with headphones. They tried to standardize that accommodation so it's read aloud the same way to all students. In the past, a person actually read the test aloud.
Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
about online? Because my greatest concern is that all the math that they do now is written. And he explains his answer and writes it out. Are they doing anything in the classroom where he types out his answer, not picking a choice? Because I can click A, B, or C on IXL all day long.
Right.
But we don't keyboard regularly.
They don't.
and
They aren't going to have to keyboard. I mean, they're not going to have to be proficient in keyboarding to take the test this year. Yes, they are going to have to peck and type out their answer, but it's not. It's not like they're writing an essay. And I have some samples for you to see what the tests look like, so that you can see. It's just maybe 1 or 2 sentences.
And they have had.
Has he done any of this?
Yeah, let me answer that. So they have been doing that in class,
That's
and then
what I haven't seen because IXL
you won't
doesn't
see it
require
coming
you to
home.
do it.
You won't see it coming
Right.
home. But they've been doing that in computer lab, and also we gave a right score assessment that was online. So that was that was a full paper that they had to write. So they had practice. That was given how many times?
We've
this
only
year?
done it once.
One
believe
time.
it or not.
But they've done that regularly in the past. They go to computer lab regularly on stations, and we're going to have a slide that tells you how we've been preparing teachers and students. So if we can move on.
Kid-friendly cartoon, and you do levels. It starts basic, it's BBC typing.
Okay.
We're also going to give you a list of resources that's in your packet. One of them is a typing resource that you can get your students on at home now.
So here's just a quick slide on the criterion reference and the norm reference items that I spoke about earlier. Your child will receive 2 different scores. They'll receive the criterion reference score, which will be a total of 55 points, and that is all based on the standards that they're taught this year. And the norm reference score will be just the score that we are being compared with nationally for those
Like
questions.
more general knowledge.
What is the difference, criterion and norm?
Well, criterion referenced is tested on a set of standards, and we get that score through a percentage. And the norm reference questions are, we get those scores as a percentile where we're compared to national, like the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, the ITBS, the
Yeah, the ITBS is a norm reference test.
Right.
It's of general knowledge, and they compare your student to all third graders in the nation that took that test. But CRCT was a strictly criterion reference test. It was all based on, like she said, state of Georgia criteria or standards being taught in the classroom. So now they're trying to give more of a mix so that you get an idea of, okay, what have they learned this year? And then you get an idea of, okay, how does my child compare generally basic knowledge with students of the same grade in other parts of the nation? So that was the thought process that the state had behind this test.
And so to get that comparison, we would have to be using this exact same type of material or questions for those that everyone else in the rest of the country is using? Because my understanding is this is a Georgia built.
That's a very good question. I'll have to tell you, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I know they've told us in the first year, we don't know everything. It'll be, we'll see after this year. But we have been told there'll be, and you can see the major score is the criterion reference score. They've just told us they will put norm referenced items in there, but that's a very good question. I'm not sure how they'll pull that knowledge to compare these items with others in the nation. I'm sure they'll let us know when the time comes.
Is the ITBS still going to be given third, fifth, and eighth?
At this point,
yes. And then some norm referenced items will count as criterion referenced items, but again, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. So in the past, we've done a reading test and an English language arts test. It's now combined. English language arts and reading will be combined, and the writing component that will be part of this section of the test will be in response to text, response to something that they've read. And then they'll get one overall ELA score and then a proficiency designation. I'm not sure, the state hasn't released what that designation is going to look like yet. We don't know if it's meets, exceeds, proficient. We don't know. Or levels. They haven't told us that yet. So here is the breakdown of the test items. Constructed response is basically where they're going to generate a response as opposed to selecting a response. So I'm going to show you in just a few minutes how the students will be typing their explanation of why they got that answer. And that's only going to be in ELA and math only. Then we have extended response items, which will require a more elaborate answer. That's where they're going to be writing a little bit more. They're going to need to explain themselves a little bit more. And again, that's only in ELA and math only, and it's going to be scored on a rubric. So they're rubrics that the teachers are already using in the classroom, so the students are becoming familiar with how they're going to be scored. So here's what the breakdown of the ELA test looks like. There's going to be a total number of 44 items and 55 points. There's 40 selected response items, and those are your multiple choice items. Then there's going to be the 2 constructed responses where they're going to ask a question and the student's going to come up with their answer and provide a response on their own. And it's a very short answer, and it's going to be scored for 2 points. They do give partial credit. Then there's a constructed extended response. And for the constructed extended response, that is a little bit more detailed than the 2-point question. There, it's going to be worth 4 points based on something that they've read. And then finally, they'll have that one extended response question where it's going to be a writing task, and it's either going to be opinion or informative. We don't know what. And it's going to include 2 passages that the students are going to have to read. And within those 2 passages, they're going to have 3 selected response questions that they're going to have to answer based on those 2 passages that they've read. Then they're going to also have 1 constructed response that short answer based on what they know from those 2 articles that they've read, those 2 passages. Then they're going to have an extended response. And that's a writing prompt where they're going to have to draw from what they read and cite evidence and talk about what they, how it all relates. did in college. And now our third graders are doing this. So,
Developmentally appropriate.
well, right, yeah,
And
exactly.
they've been doing lots
we have-
and lots
Yeah.
of this in class, lots.
Right.
And you can see the majority of it is still selected
Selected
response,
response.
although the selected response questions, and we'll show you some in a minute, they tell us are going to be more rigorous and sometimes multi-step. But you can see the majority is still selected
Is this
response.
the written or is this typed?
Well,
It depends. If you're a
on-
fourth grader, they're
If
going to
you're-
take it online, and we're going to show you
If
exactly
you're
what.
fifth grade and you're writing this,
Yes.
who's grading this and how long is that going to take?
The state grade.
The state's
the
going to
rubric.
grade it based on a rubric.
They've always done that. They've just incorporated into
Right,
this
but
test.
Did CRCT have these long written?
No, but they did
responses?
have a Georgia writing assessment in fifth and third grade. It was a separate assessment.
But separate, so, yeah,
But that
okay.
was
Yeah.
graded
That
here,
just seems
though.
like
That
it's
didn't-
No, it was
No, that was not graded.
Third was graded here, fifth was
Yeah.
graded
Right.
out.
It just
Fifth
seems
was
like it's
graded
gonna
out.
take a long
So
time.
what's the turnaround time expected for this result?
We are not expected to have.
It's a different time of year.
We are not expected to have the first year of results until November of next year.
That's what I mean. See?
So, and obviously that's out of our control.
They're gonna be on the learning curve for free.
On the same topic of grading, I've been doing some research online nationally and in the state of Georgia, and I don't know if this is true, because you can read a lot of different things all
Yeah.
over the place that aren't true or is true, and they're saying that they're hiring like temporary people to grade these things, and they're gonna have like 2 temps grading it, and depending on what the score is, they're gonna take an average.
And I heard they were grading it very much like the fifth grade Georgia. That's exactly what they did for the fifth grade state of Georgia writing
Oh, they
assessment. There were 2 scores given, and the average of
But
those 2
from
from a
people
rubric.
that are just temporary,
They'll be going through a training
They will.
process.
It's not like you think, like they're
It's-
just going to pick random people to grade these writing assessments. So.
Yeah.
So you do feel like they're going to be like educated
Yes.
people that can.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
I do feel like they'll be well trained.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, sorry I'm a little late, but my understanding is that the scores will not count for this year since this is the kid's first time.
As far as not counting, what that means is the state, or Fulton County, in fact, waived the policy, the pass-fail for third and fifth grade, the retention, promotion regulation. So that has been waived for 1 year because this is a new test. So promotion, retention, nothing hinders on this test. So in all sense of the word, this is like a baseline year. It's a new test. It's very different. We're teaching the Common Core curriculum. We're well into it and teaching it the way it's supposed to be taught. This will be a great measure. This was created to more closely align with what we teach now and how we teach. And so this will be a great measure to go forward. I'm sure a lot of things will be learned, but this will be our baseline to compare everything else to.
However, it still will count into CCRPI.
Oh, yes.
So
It still counts. Yeah.
I guess the main question I have is, will this become a part of our kids' permanent record?
Yes.
It will
So
be.
explain please, Lisa, that last comment, or.
So you know how we get a score each year, CCRPI, how we're rated like as a school, like last year ours was 91.4. And that includes everything from the testing to attendance, and everything adds into that score. So this will basically be our baseline year with this test, but included in that score. And it's just like when we took CRCT, like I remember years ago when we took it for the first time, those scores still counted as a score for the child, but knowing that it was the first year so that we had the data to compare it to for the following year.
Because our focus as a county is very much on growth now, too. So, when I say it's a baseline, so it'll be a baseline for the following year to compare how much did your child grow from taking the first Milestones assessment to the second one. And we're going to keep going because we have a pretty lengthy PowerPoint. If we could save all questions to the end, just kind of jot them down if you think of them.
So then what's required by your child in order for this test? Well, you've probably noticed what your child's been coming home with based on their work in the classroom. The children have been really working on constructing meaning from short passages, reading more than one passage and comparing the author's purpose or the characters or whatever that standard is. So in the classroom, they have been working on how to synthesize ideas and concepts across multiple texts. And then they've been writing and trying to develop that informative and that opinion piece. And the opinion is based on something that they've read. It's not just, I like chocolate ice cream because it's my favorite. It's, based on this research I found, chocolate ice cream is healthier than vanilla ice cream. So that's what's been happening in in the classroom. And Whitney's going to go to some sample items for us. And while she's doing that, some of the stuff that I've read about the milestones is that, and some of the things that the teachers have been working on with the students, is to not simply have the child rewrite word for word from the passage, because they just won't get a favorable score. It's plagiarism and whatnot. Again, college level, we're learning it in 3rd grade, and just making sure that we are putting things in our own words. Get it?
I'm trying. I'm going to pull up and show you some actual test items that worked perfectly yesterday.
It did. To the internet. Yeah. Did you click on this?
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is all available. You'll get the link on the PowerPoint, but it's also on the Georgia Department of Education. So here's what, and our teachers are familiar with this. I have sat with them. We have looked at it. We have made sure that the work that we're providing our students is matching this work as well. So items 1 through 8, they're going to read this one passage on this is buried treasure. They're reading the one passage, and then questions 1 through 3 are basic selected response. They just choose the answer. Then after question 3, you go to question 4, and this is what a constructed response looks like. This is a 2-point question. It says, in what ways are Anna and Michael different? How do their differences affect their search for the treasure? And then use details from the story in your answer. All right? And so that's what they've been working on in the guided reading groups. And then again, going back to more selected response from item 5. Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
I needed to
Keep
show
going.
them
Okay,
one more. Yes,
sorry.
sorry.
In that open-ended question, I know you said keep typing. Will some of the kids then be typing?
4th graders will be typing that.
Do you get marked off for spelling?
No.
Oh, good.
Item 5, item 6, 7, selected response, and then we're going to get to question number 8. Question number 8 is the extended constructed response that's worth 4 points. That's where they're going to write a conclusion to the story in which Anna and Michael go back to the attic to see what they can find. Be sure to include what they say to each other and descriptions of how the attic looks. So that one's going to be scored higher than the constructed response. And then if you scroll down, I want to show them.
the passages for these?
Excuse me?
How long would the passages be for these?
That
We
one was
just saw
2
it was
pages.
just a 2-page passage.
Yes.
And so then this is what an extended response looks like. And this is how our students have been practicing in the classroom. This is what our teachers have been modeling their instruction after, where they have all of these directions. They have 2 texts that 2 passages that they have to read. And so here's one passage, and it's half a page, I think. And then here's the second passage. Again, half a page.
No, here comes, yeah.
Yeah, and then here come the questions. They'll have a short answer. This is the constructed response, where they have to talk about how the author feels for both passages. And if you'll go to number 10. Now that you've read these, number 10, this is the extended response. This is where that whole writing comes in, where they're having to using the information from the 2 texts, introduce the topic clearly, developing the topic. That's where our writing's coming in.
Are these examples by grade?
This is
That
3rd
website?
grade.
This is
Yeah.
third grade?
This is 3rd grade.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Like, mine don't even read all that, so how are they
assure you, I have resources that our teachers have been using in the classroom to make sure that our children are prepared.
But the feedback we get from the teachers isn't the same as what you're saying. And
Yeah.
this is the scary part.
Well, they have been provided the resources that they need.
No, I mean, I would say the work that I see.
And you won't,
Coming
a lot of
home.
this you won't
Not-
see coming home. A lot of
A
this
lot
is
of
done
it's in the
class.
classroom.
Mhm.
A lot of it's, I mean, yes, we still have to teach our standards the way that we teach our standards. But this is a whole different way of assessing our students. So you're
Sure.
going to see them assessed differently in the classroom. And
You should have been seeing on your math tests and your English language arts test, they have to explain their answer,
Yes.
right to explain.
I have seen that. I just mean this reading and this level of compare and contrast and that writing response and the fact that you just said that was third grade. I mean, I think I would feel better if I had seen what they produced in class.
Right.
So that I would know comfort level wise where they are going into it.
And a lot
That's
of
what I feel
times-
like I haven't
Yeah,
seen.
yeah.
I've seen it in math. I've not.
Seen it in every, and a lot of times this is more the writing block that when we put into our schedule this year, a concentrated writing block for 45 minutes of the day. Usually it's integrated into reading language arts, and some may spend 15, some may spend an hour, and there were very detailed explanations and directions from us of how you use this writing block to prepare them for this. A lot of times, and I know I didn't as a teacher, I don't send that home because it's a working fluid document for us at school. It's like a portfolio, and we go back and we revise and we look at the passages and see how we can add something to that. So you probably haven't seen it come home. A lot of it's kept in one notebook at school, which is what I used to do.
And in the reading groups, and when they're doing their reading block, and when they're in that small group reading, it's a lot of discussion. So you're not going to see a lot of written stuff come home because we're trying to teach our students how to think critically that way. And we're not going to have them write it out. We're going to have that discussion. We're going to talk about it. And yes, they are going to do some writing in the classroom, and they're going to have discussion of it, but it's not going to be anything that they're going to be penalized for grading-wise because it's a learning process. It's a learning curve for the students as
So
well.
we're not teaching them to do that in class, but here we are going to.
We are teaching them
We're
to do
teaching
that
them
in
to
the
do that in
class.
class.
You're discussing it in class.
And they're
on the
also
test, they're gonna be
also
expected to
writing
write.
it in class
She
as
said
well.
some discussion. You have to
Some
start that way.
discussion.
You have to start that way. You have to teach them how to think that way before they can answer the writing prompt.
Right.
So it always starts with the discussion of how do we analyze these two passages and what can we pick out and let's highlight this information. The end product is that we then apply that in writing. So I think what she meant was that it starts with that discussion. We wouldn't expect them to just have this in front of them and be able to do it. We've been working on it since August.
Right.
Even when the teachers send it home, like some of the stuff from homework or stuff, at least I know my child, he doesn't know what else to write. And so the teacher will write, what else? More details. And I don't know what else to tell him to write either.
Well, and that's what we're working
And
on
that's
in
what we're
class.
working on
Yeah,
too,
I mean,
so yeah.
It's like at least I feel like a deer in headlights trying to help my child who, but.
Okay, we're going to move on.
So here's what we've been doing to,
What kind of timing are they gonna have for,
And I'll tell you all that at the end. Let us go through this, and then I promise we'll take any questions you have, and we'll talk all about that.
so here's how we've been preparing our teachers and students for these assessments. Fulton County and the state of Georgia have provided students with sample assessment items online through our Fulton Connect and through the GoFar online testing system. And we have been doing professional development and modeling lessons and talking about how to closely read articles. And then we've been providing our teachers with the complex text through our level library, through some websites, through materials that Fulton County has provided us, and through materials that we have purchased. And then we're modeling those close reading strategies, text analysis strategies, and text-dependent questioning strategies with the kids. So this is how we're helping our teachers and the students for the assessment.
And so let's talk about math for a minute. Math is similar as far as the breakdown of item type. It's very similar to English language arts. There are 50 selected response items. 10 of those are aligned with that norm reference we've been talking about. There are 2 constructed response items worth 2 points each. That's where they give, a sentence or two. They explain their thinking. They've been doing that in math all year long. Every one of our math summative assessments requires that application, and a lot of classwork activities do too. And then there's 1 extended constructed response, and if you just think of a constructed response as constructing a written answer, extended, they just need to give a little more, and it's worth 4 points because there's more to it. So norm referenced, there are 20, 10 of which contribute to this criterion reference score. And I know this all sounds very confusing right now, but I'm assuming, which they usually do, when they send score reports to parents, they're usually very good about explaining exactly what the scores do. This is very different for us. We've not yet, since I've been in the county or the state, had something where there are 2 scores combined, and giving some of the criterion reference items are also norm reference items, but I'm sure that will be very clearly explained, and we'll have an informational session as soon as we know something like this again to explain that to you. And they're going to embed some field test items. They always do that. There are going to be 10 embedded in that. On every test they give, they embed just some test items that students may say, oh, I've never seen that before, or, we didn't study that, and those aren't a part of the score. They're just to kind of get a test for an accurate measure of the final score.
So 83 questions on math then?
Sorry?
83 questions on math. Is that what all that
I did not total it up.
53. 53 total math questions.
Oh, 20 are norm and 10 are embedded?
Yeah, of the 53, that's the breakdown.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so what's required by the student on the math assessment is, and I'm sure you've heard this and seen this a lot, especially with the math, is it's no longer about rote, memorization of math skills. It's all about applying what you've learned in math and a conceptual understanding, procedural skills, really explaining why you got that answer. A lot of us think of it as new math, and when we look at some of the homework coming home, we say, we didn't learn it that way when we were in school, but that's what Common Core is all about, is a deeper understanding of that math. The problem solving, modeling, that type of thing. And Lori's going to pull up some sample math test items for you. And while she's doing that, we'll take a couple questions once she gets that pulled up.
Like when the way it's constructed online, I know this won't matter for 5th grade, but they do a lot of show your work. He's rewriting things several times. He may explain what he did, but he's also showing how he got to an answer. Is that online?
Who's he? What do you mean?
Like my 4th grader who, when he, if he's breaking down a fraction to its lowest common denominator.
And we're going to show you exactly. There's a fraction sample
so
test.
There's no scratch paper.
Yes,
they
do get scratch paper. They get scratch paper for math and for the writing portion of the English language arts test, so they can kind of draft out. They work on pre-writing and everything in class, so they can plan out that extended response, just like they do in class.
So here are the sample questions. Again, these are the selected response where they just look at the question, use their scratch paper, choose their answer. This is 3rd grade.
These are very typical
Typical of what they're used to. And then you're going to get into those constructed response items. Item 9, what is the sum? This is very much like the assessments we already do in math. Explaining your answer. And again, they will be scored on a rubric for their answer.
Now this is one that
This
has
is the extended.
the extended. Did we go too fast?
Explain
your typing. It's not like my kid can get the answer in 2 seconds.
You should reach out to your teacher because they're all 4th grade in particular. We went to 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah.
And said, what do you think? How do you feel like your students ready for this? Are they not? 3rd said, no, we're not there yet with typing skills. 4th grade, because they use iPads and laptops so often in the classroom and the desktops, they all said they're in the computer lab. They said they're ready. I'm not worried about the technology piece of this at all. Every teacher said that in 4th grade. So
math part as well?
Sorry?
For the math?
They've been practicing.
It's been explained.
And they're actually, it just became available yesterday, and I got my login and password today to print test tickets for them, but the state just opened the actual online testing website. So they've already done a practice when they tested for the technology, but it wasn't exactly like this. This one's supposed to emulate the test. So I'm printing test tickets today. They can use this. They can get on it as many times as they want to, as often as they want to. So they're going to start really getting online the next month and practicing that answering those questions with typing, practicing what Lori's going to show you here with the multi-step problem. So they're going to get some. So they did open that up a month ahead of time, which is nice. We didn't have anything that was truly like it until now.
Home too.
In the classroom.
You know what? I'll have to check on that. I don't know if you can use it at home. I was told the test tickets were secure, the practice test, but I'll check. I'll let you know.
And then you'll see about the time, how much time the students truly will have for this. So this is the extended constructed response, where they'll have 2 to 3 parts to answer, and writing a number sentence, shading, where we saw in the video where the students are going to actually click and shade their answer, and then explain how they shaded why part, the part of the rectangle is equal to the shaded of the first rectangle. So that's what that extended constructed response looks like.
Okay, so we've really talked about this a lot, but what were our instructional implications? And we have to tell you, we have to be very honest with you and let you all know that from the beginning of the year, we knew this was going to be aligned very closely with our Common Core curriculum, which requires all of this of students, but we didn't know until just recently exactly what everything would look like. So we feel like we've really prepared our students, but in all honesty, this was not made available till just recently, so we didn't know exactly. We were told, expect extended response items, expect more rigorous testing items, so we knew that. So we started planning actually this summer when the leadership and admin team sat down at our retreat, and how are we going to get our students ready for this test? So we took what we knew at the time and have been preparing them up until this point. We didn't know until a month ago, I would say, maybe
quite a month.
Yeah, maybe a month, not even that. How many we would need to put online and who would that affect, and it was, a bit of a mystery until just a little bit ago. So, but I feel like we've done a good job. Now that it's all come out, I'm like, yes, we did that. Yes, we did that. We've prepared them for that. So they need to be actively engaged in doing math. I'm sure you've all seen that, heard that. They're not just adding up problems on a worksheet anymore. They are doing math in class. Every classroom we go into, they are actively engaged. They have notebooks. They're writing, if they're at a workstation, they're writing, why did they do it that way, and how did they arrive at that answer? So they're doing it every single day. Students need to be able to think and reason. That's a hard skill to teach. It's much easier to teach just copying something down or filling out a worksheet, but it's deeper than that. Common Core is deeper than that. So we've been working on that all year. A lot of what Lori talked about with the close reading text and analyzing passages, and in math, explaining your thinking. We're teaching them how to think for themselves and how to reason problems out, how to problem solve. And then for science and social studies, science and social studies will not have the extended response, constructed response items on them this year. So it's just a basic understanding of the core concepts, ideas, and practices. From what I understand, it's going to be very much like what the CRCT was in relation to science and social studies.
So this is how we've been preparing our students for that online writing assessment. We have been providing them those opportunities to write on the computers in class, in the computer lab. They've had computer lab time. All of our teachers have writing stations during station time where they are typing answers on certain websites and showing what they know. And then we have done the online mock writing and diagnostic assessments. And then like what Whitney just said, from this day forward, they're going to be in the computer lab really, especially fourth graders, really working on that typing and getting familiar with what that's going to look like.
It will just be fourth graders. That practice test that I said that just opened up is just for online testers. Everybody else will still continue to practice writing in the classroom. So, okay, questions?
So when you say they're gonna be in there practicing, I'm saying like 1 day a week, 45 minutes
I-
a day?
To be honest with you, I don't know yet. I just found out yesterday that this was even going to be available. So we're going to have to really balance it out with, what curriculum do we still have left to deliver before we test, and we don't want to burn them out, getting them on the computer every day before this, because this is a long testing situation. So we'll have to kind of balance that. I want to talk to the teachers. They know their kids best. See what do we need, who needs it, and I'll find out if they can do that at home, because that would be a key. That would be pretty important.
In the practice sessions when you're going to the computer lab, are they timing them?
It is untimed, but I'm going to talk to the teachers about, let's start practicing. It very much, the time limits are very much exactly what the CRCT was, except on English language arts, it's much longer.
Oh.
It's like 90 minutes, I think. I don't have them in front of me, but I think it's 90 minutes or something. So the CRCT was always way too much time. So there's that plus a little more for the milestones. Teachers are like, oh, that's not going to be a problem at all. ITBS is the one that's usually hard to get finished with. The times are short, but CRCT and this one, plenty of time,
Do you
ample time.
think even for the children that have learning disabilities and things like that you waver back and forth between untimed and timed testing, because
The test has to be timed when we give it for real. There's not an option on that. She was asking about the practice test. Is that what you?
no,
Oh.
I'm talking about the real test. 'Cause,
Right.
I've always felt comfortable from you guys saying you definitely have enough time for the CRCT.
Extended time.
Extended time. Yeah, so I'm saying do you feel like even for a child with a learning disability that's enough time for this test?
It's going to depend on the child and what their plan says, but I do think it's a lot of time. I would be able to generally answer that.
You may not know the answer to this, but on for ELA, those 2-page passages that they have to read and answer questions, do you kind of generally know, are we talking 5 of those, or?
No, it said there would be 2. Hang on just a second.
There's only going to, for the,
Two?
just one extended response, where they're going to read the 2 passages and have to answer questions.
So the majority of both
So no multiple
are
choice
still
related to a
selected
really
response.
long
Yeah.
passage.
There will be some multiple choice, and it will be, I'm not sure what you mean by really long, but it will be over a page. And
CRCT had over
that's
a
what the
page.
CRCT was like.
Yeah.
So similar in terms
Yes.
of that. And then, I know Trepty has spell check on her computers, and I don't think she can get off, so Jack thinks he's a better speller than he is. So when they're practicing in the computer lab, because I'd rather him practice without spell check if it doesn't have it, and I don't think that he's able to do that, but so that he can at least get it close enough that they know.
Because spelling is not a factor in this, I have my countywide testing meeting next Wednesday. I've just had a few webinars with the state. I do not know for sure if spell check for 4th grade online testers will be enabled or disabled. I'm assuming disabled. That's the way it normally is. Like if a student is allowed to take something with technology because of an IEP, it's disabled. So I'm assuming it will be disabled, but spelling does not count. They don't take off for that.
Figure out how to disable it, in Ms. Trepty's class.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be
Right.
good. Miss Brown will be doing that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, she'll be kind of mass doing it for all the computers.
So he can realize he's not.
Yes.
They all think they're great spellers with spell check. I think I'm.
Yeah.
As we look forward to, the 80%, the 100% mark,
Yeah.
will there be an incorporation of keyboarding skills
Yes.
taught?
Yes. So this year we offered keyboarding after school as an enrichment activity. I know that everybody can't do that, but we've had a big discussion too, and with Miss Brown also about possibly bringing back, looking at Type to Learn, a program. There are a couple things already
Good.
in the computer lab that were already available to teachers, but we'd like to get that lab on a more consistent rotation, like a special or something, and work more diligently on those typing skills. So yes.
Perfect.
I had a couple questions. First is, my son's in 4th grade, he's doing the online. Do the teachers read the instructions out loud? 'Cause I
The
know-
instructions, yes, but
Yeah.
not the questions.
Right, that's what I would think. 'Cause I
Yes.
know the instructions for the extended one were pretty
Right.
extensive.
Right. And those are the same instructions that when they're practicing them in the classroom, those are the same instructions that they're modeling from, so they'll be familiar with them.
My other question was, and this is kind of like an online thing, are the students allowed to go back and review their work?
Okay, so on one advantage,
Things in your head.
there are a couple advantages to the online test takers. One is that they have a highlighter tool to highlight. I think they've accounted for the fact that, students we don't know how they're going to do online. This is new for them, so they've given them some advantages. A highlighter tool, it's called a ruler blocker, where they can take this rectangle and block out, kind of like a place marker, as they read, they can help them. There's an option eliminator, where they can put a red X over things that they want to eliminate. There is a mark for review, so they could mark that question at the bottom. It will show them, at the end, I think it's red for them. They need to go back and review that one. Maybe they're not sure, but they want to move on. So there's mark for review. There is a go forward and a go back, which is different than, the paper pencil test.
And they practice this right before the test.
They've already practiced that, but they're going to get to again.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, they've already put, the only tool they haven't been able to practice with, because for some reason they didn't put it on there, was the option eliminator. They told us it was going to be on there, but it wasn't when we practiced the 2 times before, but it will be this time.
If they have a problem, get stuck under how many people are there to.
There will be 2 for people. Any classroom that's testing online, there will be the teacher and then a proctor. It'll probably be Miss Brown and I will be in and out, and Miss Dunn, so yeah, but there will be 2 full-time people in there to assist.
Because the teacher assists too, so there's 3.
Do what now?
The teacher, in addition to those 2, does the teacher help too?
No, it would be 2 people.
Just the 2.
So,
Sorry.
What about, technology breaks? So is there a backup plan if there's a problem?
Well, so when I had my webinar with the state yesterday, yes, they gave me all kinds of, right, Miss Brown, she was on that webinar too, all kinds of, if this happens, do this, if this happens, do this. I'll be honest with you guys, we don't know for sure how this is going to go. We just don't. We've tried it. We use technology all the time. We've had a technology test. First time it didn't work at all. Second time it worked beautifully. And then we had a third one, worked beautifully. But we do have, they have given us things to do. If this freezes, do this. If this happens, do that. And they'll let us know. They give us explicit directions. If it, we have a direct line to somebody in the testing department. Like, this has happened. What do we do?
And when she says it's not working, that wasn't a school thing, that wasn't a county thing, that was a state
Yes.
issue?
Yeah,
So
that
all
was
of
not our
this-
school.
Yes, no, it wasn't like a local issue. It happened at all of the schools.
you're saying the practice test is for the 4th graders. Are the other grades having opportunities to take practices?
There is not a practice test like this one, because they feel these students need an exact experience. But they have been given, teachers have been given sample items all along for, about the past month since
Right.
we've had them.
Fulton County's provided us with sample items. We have a website, GoFar. We've been ordering materials right in math, so the teachers have materials to start the practice test.
Did the state explain, why the need for this test? And just kind of, it seems like we went to Common Core, which is nationally,
It is.
national.
I know.
So why are we not going to a more national test versus a state level?
Yeah, because you'll remember we were going to be a part of the PARC assessment, which was more nationally based, and you may have more information to add to this too, Ms. Nash, but I think that the PARC assessment did not, because our Common Core standards, they're called CCGPS standards, so they're Common Core Georgia Performance Standards. So we have taken the Common Core and put Georgia in there, so to speak. So they felt like creating a Georgia-based assessment and adding in these norm referenced items so that we could still compare ourselves nationally was a more true representation of what we were teaching in Georgia. So although they're nationally based, they are still specific in some ways to Georgia. I don't know if you know any more about that than I do.
I know. What I wanted to say is when you think about the CRCT, which we've taken in the past, that was a minimum level skills test. It just gave us, that was just minimum. This test is more rigorous to match the more rigor that we're teaching in the classroom. So we're going to get a better understanding of our students from this test. So, looking farther out, not just this year, but looking years from now, in 2 years, the data that we're going to get is really going to help our teachers and our students learn about each other and what we need to teach from them.
And our cutoff scores, does not mean we're the lowest in the nation.
For the
So-
state of Georgia.
No, the
Oh.
nation. Our cutoff
Oh, right.
scores were the lowest in the nation.
Georgia is the lowest.
Georgia's, yes.
Georgia's were
The,
the-
what it meant to exceed a standard, what it meant to meet, and what it meant to does not meet. They were the lowest cutoff scores in the nation.
So, two things. First of all, there's a lot of things going through my mind right now. But the park assessment that we were going to give, which was, I think it was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, that where they were going to do it. The reason that the state decided not to was financial. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
thing that came back. It was financial reason that we couldn't afford to give the park assessment. I truly, truly believe that we have been teaching what we need to teach in the manner that we need to teach this year. I mean, like Ms. Shook said, we revamped so much last summer. I mean, we spent the whole summer revamping for language arts, math, science, social studies. We literally came back this year and handed to the teachers. I said it was new teacher induction for every teacher in our building this year because we went through everything that was expected and how we expected it, the best that we knew how it should be taught in the classroom in order to match up to this. Like she said, we didn't know a lot about this. It was a little bit of shooting in the dark, but we were trying to go for as much rigor as we possibly knew how to do at the time for this year. I am telling you, when I am in the classrooms and they're talking about the two passages and they're comparing and contrasting, that's what I'm seeing in the classroom. I mean, I promise you, when I am in there, that's what I'm seeing them doing. When I'm looking at the math and we're in there for math stations, I mean, that's why we implemented the math stations this year and literacy stations in every classroom. The county has been very good about taking as much as they knew and coming back and delivering to the curriculum support teachers, like the close reading, that got delivered at the beginning of the year to curriculum support teachers and principals, and Ms. Dunnigan went back in and re-delivered that to the teachers so that we could use that in the classrooms. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a culture shock year for us, because I think when we get, like they said, that was minimal competency test. We got very accustomed to looking at these scores and thinking, oh my gosh, they're doing so well, but that was minimal competency. So now we're going to get scores back that are really true scores about where our students really are, and it's going to hit us in the gut a little bit, because it's going to be, it's not that 980 that we're used to. But I also feel like our students score high on ITBS, so I feel like our students are going to score high on this. It's like you have to look at also that we have high achievers in this building scoring high on ITBS. So I don't think that it's going to be as much of a shock, but it is going to be a little bit of to see scores in November for this. There was one more thing that I was thinking of before. And the other thing that both of them made reference to is this year we've been looking at growth more than anything, not just where students are, but also how much they're growing, because we do have those high achievers. So our big thing was, okay, those high achievers that are scoring at the 99th percentile at the beginning of the year, where are they scoring in December? They might be scoring at the 99th percentile again, but how much have they grown for the standards that they're supposed to know in each part of the year? And at the beginning of the semester, I mean, we literally printed off, that's why they've been taking those STAR tests that you've been hearing the students take, and we literally looked at every child in this building and how much they had grown throughout the year and where we needed to go back and reteach and what to do. And I mean, I sat in with every grade level to go over that with them, and we sat for reading and for math. So we're doing what we think we need to do to get prepared for this. I have been very pleased with the growth I've seen this year in the classrooms. Tremendous with preparing for what I think. As parents, we're always nervous. Oh my gosh, is my child going to be able to do that? I don't think that my child's going to be able to do that. My hope is that they surprise us. And that they are going to be able to do this. And I truly believe that they will. I truly do.
Now, something else that's very, very different about this test is the scheduling, the testing window, how you give it. So, the testing window is a lot longer, but students aren't testing all of those days. Some days are meant for just paper, pencil, and they give you 2 online testing days per subject because most people don't have enough technology to test everybody on one day. And they gave us all day. They said you can test in the afternoon, you can test in the morning. We made a decision as a school that I think our kids are fresh and ready to test in the morning. So we chose to all paper pencil testers in 2 of the 4th grade classes. We'll take one day. The next day, that second online testing day, and this is all on the website. I posted it about a week or 2 ago, yeah. The other 2 4th grade classes will take it in the morning so that the afternoons testing is over. Now, I can tell you it will not stay that way. We're lucky this year that it's that way, but I can see in the future as we get to that 80% mark and especially that 100% mark where we're testing everybody online, we'll have to use afternoons, mornings, and that extended time window to get all the testing
We
in.
will still use afternoons for any makeup
Yes.
if we have to.
Yeah.
That's the only time that we'll be doing makeup with the students.
What do you mean by small groups?
Small groups are students that have an IEP, an
Okay,
individual
okay.
education plan that may
Okay.
need to be pulled out to be tested, but those people already know those things.
2 things, the STAR test and parent-teacher conferences. I heard you mention the STAR test, and I kind of heard my son mention it and was thinking, okay, at some point maybe I'll get some feedback. Is that something that will be shared with us?
You want to talk about that, Lori?
Well, yes, it should be shared with you. We have a fall conference. We don't have a spring conference. It's not something that's required of our teachers. However, if our teachers have been, we've recommended that they do touch base with parents about the growth. If you would like to know how your child's grown, please let your teacher know, and or myself, and I can sit down, and I'd be happy to show you what the growth is.
Because all students take it in the fall, in the winter, and then again in the spring, and so we've just, I think in January, we just completed our second STAR assessment, and that's where we got that growth measure, so you could see how your child, and we were, there was a lot of growth in a lot of areas, so you can see exactly how much they grew in reading and math from August, September to January. And then we'll take it again in, I think, end of April, May, after this is over. We'll take it again. So, in your packet that you received, this is a brochure from the state. So if you go on the Georgia Department of Education, there's more information about this state assessment. Like I said, we'll post this, and you'll be able to get to all these links. We also gave you a printout of this. Just some resources that you can go to. I won't read them to you. They're all there for you.
There are some typing resources that are free, not the BBC. Oh yes, the BBC one. Dance mat typing is on here, the one you were referencing. So
yeah,
Which one?
Dance mat. The BBC one.
I see,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Just probably rhetorical at this point, but when all is said and done, and all the testing's done, and the grading's done, when they look back, I'm still fixated on this typing thing and the time and ranking.
Uh-huh.
So if kids aren't finishing, will they research why they didn't finish? Is it because the kid just didn't know how to answer, or is it because the kid didn't have time?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. I personally feel like because there are only a couple of questions that they have to write or type on, there are not many. And they did give extra time. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. I honestly don't.
Yeah, and every year I ask, we work on with the teachers, like say a child was anything, just wasn't paying attention, concentrating, so then it got to the end and they didn't get to finish all of the questions. We ask that the teacher call the parents to let you know, and we keep documentation of that.
That's true.
So when the tests come back, usually
You'll
in the
know.
school year, but this is next year in November, we will have it in a folder, so like if there is a question like that, if there was a problem, then it would be documented, we'd have it.
Wait, it's hard to get you guys.
Ms. Brown just informed me that these links are linked to our website where there's a Georgia Milestone emblem. If you just go there and you click it, it'll link you
You'll
to
find the
this.
video. She videoed this today, so that if you want to go back and reference anything that we said or pass on to your friends who didn't get to come, this and the PowerPoint. And this will be linked on there as well, the brochure.
It's under the About tab.
My older son's cousin in Alabama,
Yeah.
Huntsville, and I know that's technology town. They all have computers in their public schools, which is great because you're learning typing, and
Yeah.
private schools all have computers.
Yeah.
Is that down the road where our kids are going to have computers, not just laptops? I mean, iPads?
You know that Dr. Vos, I don't know if you've heard, but his is to get a piece of technology in every child's hands at some point. So they're rolling out. Lisa, remind me, we're on
for the fall.
Okay, the fall. Yes.
Not at the very beginning of fall because we're moving into a new building, but we will be going through a process where we will be getting an additional 10 iPads per classroom, which is a lot more than we have right now. But then our next thing, so you know how I've always worked with Eagle Alliance, and you have been so generous with purchasing iPads and all that. The next thing will then be to get the keyboards, not this one, but a keyboard with all of the iPads, so that at least we'll be able to have them typing on the iPads, because we'll right. And we will have so many more iPads than we'll have computers in the building, that then if we can get the keyboards that each of the students are using, at least they're still getting that experience. Yeah.
And that's going to be an option eventually too, is to take the actual test on the iPad with the keyboard. So.
I just have one last question on the math piece of it, because I think our biggest frustration as math ramped up so much this year and was seen in both my 4th and 5th grader, that first test of the year, and kind of shock to their system.
Sure.
Our biggest struggle has been resources that reflect the same standard that's on the test. It's one thing to understand fractions. It's another thing to have the practice in a word problem that is as tricky as the ones are that are on the test. And the online resources that we get, IXL is nothing.
It's not.
And you don't even get to type into it.
Right.
You just pick an answer. So are there resources that
Yes.
will reflect that?
There are resources that, unfortunately, they're not computerized right now. The teachers have the resources in the form of a book, in form of activities for the students to use in the classroom and to teach. IXL is not as rigorous as we need it to be.
No.
We'll be looking.
But go far.
So far.
OAS, Georgia Online Assessment System, and then they just transitioned to, it's called Go Far now. I'm not sure exactly what it stands for. I could come up with it in a minute.
Georgia Online Formative Assessment.
Yeah. They've been they should have been 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. It's been available since October. We rolled it out in October, and they just switched to Go Far in January, I think. So they've been working on that pretty much the whole school year, and those are supposed to be closely related to the types of test questions with typing and things that they'll see on this test, so they've had that as well.
Well, for those that need more practice, I mean,
Yes.
it's hard to study and help them prepare for a test, or at least have them show you what they know when there's nothing at home that reflects that rigor, and then we get a test back, and I'm like, well, we didn't even look at anything close to being that complicated or difficult. I mean, I know they do it in class, but the repetition of practice.
Yes. And I've ordered more resources, and the teachers should be using them, and I will follow up
And
on
so
that.
to me, like, what we've been thinking is, like, Lori's been ordering a lot of resources to have in the classroom, and she's been working with the county to get more resources for home also, because that has been a big thing that we have not had overall, is the resources for home. And so she worked with our STEM person to try to get those things, but what we're also hoping is to get enough resources that we can kind of have a checkout system for parents as well, like if there's a topic, to be able almost have a parent resource room that you can have, that you can come in and check things out.
I mean, I've ordered stuff from Amazon. I just don't even know if it's
right.
I mean, for reading comprehension, that's fine, but for math, I don't know if
Right.
it's going to be right.
It is tough, yes.
Honestly, even just for kids that have trouble with reading, I'm kind of the opposite. Our math teacher has done an excellent job of giving a pre-test. She sends the pre-test home, and then she sends the pre-test home with the correct answer.
I do see that.
So that we can
That doesn't
know
help
that.
you help your child.
Yeah, the practice in
Right,
between
right.
is,
Okay, so
because I don't get that till right before the test.
yeah.
And so seeing the progress, because I don't
Yeah.
expect them to do well on a
So,
pre-test,
but
but
I'm
yeah.
struggling, I guess that's a lot for what I feel like I've been getting. I'm struggling with resources all around, like I get homework and I'm like, I don't know about this topic.
And we're working
And
on
we
that.
are working
We're
on it,
that.
and the county is very much aware of it. Every school is experiencing these same growing pains, and they have been working, and they are looking at resources. Companies are coming to us left and right about Common Core, Milestone type test. And we really want to make sure that we are providing our students with the best material. So we have to look through all of this stuff to make sure that it's really fitting. Because yes, you can go to Amazon, you can go to Schoolbox and buy things, but is it really helping our students? We're not sure yet.
You don't know if it's the same material.
Right. So please be rest assured, we have been working. Dr. Bosa, they've come and met with us and they ask us what do we need. And the first thing on the top of my list is my parents need resources to help at home.
And it's tough,
And it's
especially
tough.
with math, because you can't do a lot of it at home the way we teach it in school. You know, it's hard. It's not like sending you a worksheet home, go over this with your child. It's
not
just
like
different now.
that
It's
anymore.
hard to
Well, the
explain it. It's
worksheets
different.
Easy.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's why it's
Challenge.
math. That's what I'm saying. So it doesn't help.
And you might see them what's coming home is multiplication facts and division facts, because our students
They still need to practice
They
that.
still need to practice. They still need to have that fluency with their math facts. So real quick, when you go to our website, if you go to About Academics, Standardized Testing, you'll see the Georgia Milestones. And everything is linked from today so that you can go to it and start taking a look at it yourself at home and with your children. And as soon as we get information from the state, from the county, we will give it out to you just as quickly as we can.
As soon as we know things, we'll let you know things. So, thank you all so much
Thank
for
you.
coming. I hope it was
Appreciate it.
informative.